There we go. I think we're live right now. Can you hear me good, Carson?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good. So if anybody's here, once we're live on our stuff and we're going to get started here, this is Carson Fortner. Everybody asks all the time where I go and where I go visit when I go out to Georgia, besides the military bases. This is the gentleman whose school I go to. This is Carson Fortner, for those who have not met him before. Like another son of mine, for sure. Right. And so we'll talk a little bit about that, Carson, where we got some visitors already. We got I think 10 viewers already.
Nice. Hey guys.
So say hi to all our friends out there that's coming in and saying hi to all of us.
That's cool. Hey guys, how you doing?
So here's the thing, Carson. Let's start right off the bat here. We got about an hour together, and we'll talk a little bit about how you and I came to be and your background. So let's talk about where you first started your martial arts training.
I actually grew up in a small town called Sylvania, and that's where my dad, he had a drugstore. And I remember when I was a little kid going to the drugstore, looking around, hanging out, and then I started karate at this small school in Sylvania under a gentleman named Mr. Prescott. And, it's funny, dude, me and you I always knew what art we did and talked it up, but I never know what art we did. I'm assuming it was Taekwondo, but I never heard once anybody ever say, hey, this is the martial art we're doing. I just remember doing basic karate. I remember breaking my first board, and I have that board. It's funny, and it says, you can tell it's from the 90s because on top of it says don't do drugs. And it's 1994, so I was 6 years old with him. And dude, I firmly remember my mom and dad taking me. I remember my mom taking me to karate, and there was this long staircase, and walked to the staircase, got up to the building, and it was completely empty. Everything was gone. And I remember that's always one thing that's really, I guess, helped me sort of like when I got students coming in from other systems or other communities, or it's really helped me to be able to take them in, because I remember walking up the door and seeing everything blacked out, empty, and nobody there. And it was hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that. So when from there, where did Clay Pearson come into play for you as far as
So I really hit sports hard. I've been doing sports, football, mostly in Sylvania. That's the biggest sport in Sylvania. It's like, how small towns are with their football. They're no joke about their football. And so I played football most of my life. And then when I was 14, we moved to Statesboro with my family. I moved to Statesboro with them when my dad retired. And I played football in Statesboro. I was coming from the small town, and the two schools were sort of rivals, dude. So me coming from that town, not being born and raised in Statesboro, I think played a role in, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it played a role how I was taken in. I'd been playing football, like I said, my whole life. So when I jumped into there, my 9th and 10th grade year, I played football. And then it's, dude, I've not hardly ever quit anything in my life. It's hard for me to say I'm dealing with something. And I had a coach that was, I don't know, we didn't get along for some reason, dude. And he got mad at me one day. He told me that he was going to run me until my heart blew up.
Wow.
And I was 10th grader, so I was starting to come into where I had a little bit of my own mindset, and I knew when something wasn't right and wrong, And I said, that's okay, man. I'll just clean out my locker. And I literally walked off the football field, grabbed all my stuff, left. The next day, I went to karate.
And that's how it all started. It's funny, right? As instructors and coaches, or per se, that what a coach says to us sometimes is can make or break us, right? I've always felt that. My background, same thing. When I came from a small school to a big school, and I walked on playing football, so I played all those sports too. But I never had a coach really kind of take me under my wing to push me until I got into martial arts, right? And then so in Statesboro karate, I think it started, if I remember right, you're in Clay's school started in a little bungalow, correct?
That was before me, dude. When I started,
that was before you.
It was at a movie Video Warehouse.
Okay, so the Video Warehouse. I remember the Video Warehouse. Yeah, I remember that. Right. So it was a Video Warehouse, and that's where you started, huh?
Yeah, the good old days when you could rent a video, rent a DVD. You know?
That's right. It was actually called a Video Warehouse, where you actually, you know what I most remember about your school? Across the street was a dentist that was a gold tooth specialist. I'll never forget it. That was what's on there. And it used to just crack me up to see that, going, a gold tooth specialist. Man, what the heck? And so this is where, you were a young kid back then. How old were you when you were there when I first started meeting on you?
Probably 13, 14. Right around there.
That's kind of what I remember. I think you were a young man that was helping Clay teach and everything else and start running his school, I believe. Right? That's where the background started. What year did you get your black belt?
Oh, man. Let's see. I think I graduated, was it around 06, somewhere around there, maybe?
Is that what it was?
Maybe it was before then. It's funny. I don't think about it very often, dude. I guess I'm number 19. I'm black belt number 19 under Clay, under Mr. Pearson. I do know that.
Your very first black belt, number 19. Yeah. So I remember you. I've always remembered you as a hard worker, and I remember, I know as close as we are today, we weren't. It wasn't always that way. It was always It was more of a a teacher and student relationship. It took a while for you to get within my circle, right?
That's right. Well, I always remember seeing you in your red uniform. That was Master Cox, and you didn't mess with him. That's what I remember.
That's funny, man. I haven't wore that red uniform in a minute. That's funny to hear that. I always look back at times that I've had students and what you guys remember. So it's fun. Now, once you're in there and I remember you kind of helped Clay run into school and stuff like that. And then you went to school there in Statesboro, right? You went to college there. Yeah.
So I started out, before I went to college, I started out cleaning bathrooms and cleaning the mats and cleaning stuff like, I started doing that stuff for Clay to get started, and then it eventually turned into me helping with Greenbelt class, and then it turned into me running classes, and then I ended up doing program directing. So I was there for about 10 years, somewhere around there. I helped from cleaning the toilets to running the mat, and then I went to Georgia Southern and got a degree in natural and cultural resource management, and I got a finance minor.
Yeah, I remember you
in I could have been a park ranger or hunting fishing guide, or there's a bunch of stuff. It actually is interesting how it related to martial arts, because any natural resource dealing with human interaction. So any way that humans interact, and a lot of it always seemed like to come back to kids. And my college professor was actually the one who really pushed me and convinced me to open my school.
Yeah, well, it's always somebody, pushing us to be better people. And that's the beauty of being teachers, right? The most underpaid profession, and the ones that love us and push us the most, or they say the wrong thing and push us to a different direction.
That's right.
So that's, it always runs that way. I always have much respect for everybody like that. And I remember you doing your financing. It's funny, right? You used to clean the toilets, and that's how you started cleaning studios and stuff. We all did that, and we still do it today, having our own studio, right?
That's right. Well, that's what I tell these guys who I tell these guys who get to jump straight into to instructing, you ain't got no clue. You got to skip all the stuff. You don't know how much you should appreciate anybody who's doing any kind of cleaning in the school, because you don't just to get out on the mat to be able to teach is you skipped a bunch of parts.
Yeah. So we wish we had just that, right? I often talk about this, Carson, because I think your success comes from you having to go through the growing pains, and our guys that are underneath us have to see that. I always thought that was a deficiency. I don't know if you agree, right? That I went through all the growing pains. I almost, couldn't sustain my school. I remember the many phone calls when you first opened your school, back and forth every night. This is where I'm at, and just navigating through that. But that is what made us the successes we are today. Is the growing pains, and that's unfortunately for the people that work for us or under us, and my son even, right, or Matthew for you, or they've skipped that. We've already built, right. and they've got to step in, and so they miss that learning process, the failures that come with it. They have their own failures, yes, but you know what I'm talking about as far as that goes, and as far as business and stuff like that. So
it's like our kids. We try to give them as much as we can, so they don't have to go through the things we did. I think that's what I can relate back to these guys who are working for me. I try to make it so the same thing you did for me, dude. Like you said, I've already done this, and so I tell people that I said I'm 33 right now, and I said I'm only 33. I've had my school for 10 years, and I've already experienced almost everything that Master Cox has experienced in 30 years,
Right. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. If there's anything any of our young people that I can help deviate from that would be I definitely capitalize on my mistakes, teaching mistakes, opening mistakes and stuff. But, even so, just so everybody knows, I didn't have the college degree like you had. There's something to be said about that. Your writing skills, your organizational skills, your skills that in the minor in finance, how you've dealt with your money and to be able to go where you're at today. And so I think in this first segment, we talk about what really kind of pushed you and I together, where people will be able to relate. Some of these people relate to you, but was your father. Right.
That's right. Yeah. So in 2012, my dad, he died of cancer. He had small cell lung cancer. And, dude, to see somebody you really like, I love my dad. We were so close. We ate breakfast almost every morning. You got to do that with us home. And we hung out. I called him every night. And my favorite thing to do was always, especially after I opened, was call him after every day and say, hey, this is how many new students I had today. And that was something I really enjoyed with him, but unfortunately, after not too long, I guess it was 2 years after I opened my school, that's when he got cancer. And that last 2 weeks, man, was brutal to see somebody go through. And when he passed away, there was 2 people that called me every single day. And one of those people was you, sir. So, that's how me and you, we were starting to become close, but that really, changed things, because I don't know, you just anybody who has been through a loss like that, if you got somebody who actually cares enough to check on you daily and check on your family daily, then that I don't know, that makes a huge impact on you,
Yeah, I remember the days vividly. I tell the story all the time of me getting to have breakfast with your father. There's 2 things I remember about it the most when I tell this story. We were at your dad. It was with all his friends, and they have silver. I don't know. They got silver coins, and they got these silver spoons, right? And they're bantering back and forth. These old guys are bantering back and forth about it. And we're at this little cafe in Statesboro, and so is trading and whatever they're doing. And I remember it vividly. Those guys and this is what your dad did. And I remember you always saying, I think you even went golfing and stuff with your dad, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And then your dad kind of took me to the side, and he goes, I want you to make sure you help my son. And I told him that day, I said, no, your son will never go without help. I can guarantee it. And,
That's right.
and then he goes, and by the way, you don't need to leave $1 tip. A dime is fine for coffee. I'll never forget it. Right. And, he's like, you're leaving too much of a tip. You know what I mean? Because your dad was the pharmacist, the town pharmacist there, right? And knew everybody in town, and that's where you grew up. And so this really so people ask where we really forged a relationship. I remember those dark days very well. I remember you laying right next to your dad in bed while he, on his final days. And, I just remember it. I remember it vividly, like it was yesterday. And your dad definitely, before we get out of this segment, how proud he would. I tell you that every time I come to black belt testings, how proud your dad would be of you and the man you've become, taking care of your family here as the man of the family with your mom and your sister, and now you got nieces and your own daughter and stuff like that. So, you're growing up to be a good man. So,
no, I appreciate it.
I guess this is what kind of compels the next thing that we're going to talk about. Really, is this special kicks. When you're a martial arts instructor, everybody comes to us, man. There's so many different walks of life, and we always tell our instructors, you really never know, because some things we know privately that other students just don't want people to know about, right? So
that's right.
We ask, is Mr. Cox, I have had a trauma, I've been attacked, or and then there's no place really for special needs students to go. Even myself here, we've talked about this before, where I had an autistic child that, is disruptive in class and like that. And I had parents that were complaining so much. Well, this is taken away. Instead of seeing like, hey man, this is a learning process for your child to be around people with special needs and how to do that. They were just so mad that their kid wasn't getting the attention they have. And then I had asked them to leave the school. I said, I'm not taking him out of class. Okay, we'll work around it. We'll make sure everybody's safe, but I'm not taking him out of class. I will not do that. And I think you had the same heart. So let's talk about your program that you've kind of developed, this thing called Special Kicks, which deals with special needs kids. Let's take a look at the background and where you decided that and who started that process for you.
Well, so dude, we were just doing our thing in the new school. I was sort of just getting going and teaching a few little ninjas here and there, and just really getting my school up off the ground. And I had this family I was teaching, and there was this little girl, and the mom said, well, it actually, funny enough, I was spinning a weapon one day. I was spinning a staff, and the little girl, the mom said she doesn't walk. And I was spinning this weapon, and you know how you got those real shiny, bright weapons, that when you spin them real fast, they look like something's out there, and the little girl, I got her to walk for one of the very first times when she saw me moving that staff, and she just followed me, and I got her to move, and I got her to walk. And the mom said, hey, you think you'd be interested in working with her? And I said, yeah, that'd be cool. And so we just tried it, and I ended up getting her to talk for one of the very first times. And man, that is, to hear a parent say, I can't believe you got my kid to talk, like, that is mind blowing. So, I have a lot of parents who, in their mind, and that I have never gone through this with my daughter, so I can't say I know how it is. But I have parents that say, well, they don't talk. They don't talk. And to me, that is like you say, that's like somebody getting an accident and saying, well, they'll never walk again, and then just giving up. You know what I mean? I mean, in my mind, I'm wanting to say, well, they're going to talk one day. You know what I mean? Whether it's me praying over them or me continuously talking to them. And I've learned that if I keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again, eventually they will try to say it. And that's how I got that little girl to talk for the first time. And that just blew my mind when somebody said, "Hey, she doesn't talk, and you got her to talk."
Yeah.
There's no way to really explain it unless you've been through it.
Yeah, I saw when that started. So you started that little girl, and then let's talk about Austin for a second. And Austin's that had Down syndrome. How did you see Austin? Let's talk about the story about that and how you brought him in.
So funny enough, dude, I decided when I started with that little girl, I said, I'm going to start a special needs program. I didn't really have a name for it or anything. I just said, I'm going to start a special needs program. So I tried to do any special needs, any disability, all at one class. And I was by myself. And I learned really quick that was not the right choice. So to be honest with you, dude, in the old school, it sort of fell to the side. And then when I moved to the new school, I was over at a little pizza restaurant next to us called Stevie B's, and there was a gentleman in there with his son, and dude, I can't remember how old Austin was. He couldn't have been much older than 7 years old maybe. And he was eating with his dad, and I said, "Hey, I want to work with your son," because I had always wanted to work with a kid with Downs. I didn't really know that much about kids with Downs, but I knew that they were super loving children.
Right.
And so I said, I want to work with him. I said, no charge. I just want you to bring him every week and I'll work with him. And so that's what really made the Special Kicks program explode. I started teaching him Little Ninjas curriculum. And from there, I just sort of started developing a Special Kicks curriculum. So we were working nonstop pretty much every week, at least once a week. And out of nowhere, I get a call from this organization that's called B&B Care. And they're out of a local small community. And they said, "Hey, listen, we want to help you with this program. We're trying to get into more of the recreational activities for any kids. And what we'll do is we'll pay for their martial arts." They fill out an application. They get the application, and then their martial arts is basically paid for. And so more than that, the cool thing was, like, if you had a kid with autism or cerebral palsy, anything like that, you could bring them in and I say, "Hey, your martial arts is going to be paid for. I just need you to fill this out." And so that to me was awesome. And that's what really set it off, is they started sending me people. And then it got to the point where I was sending them so many from kids coming off the street. I was sending them so many they couldn't keep up with it.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. I remember how that started, and being able to get the money, because you dedicated so much private time to help special needs, because there's nothing really, outside of maybe Special Olympics that's really there. And the beauty that people don't know maybe about your school, when you talk about special needs, you're not just talking about autistic. You're talking about people that cannot walk. I remember Pepe, right?
Pepe.
Yeah. So yeah. I remember him specifically because I remember you taking him out of his wheelchair and you kind of strapped his legs to your legs, and so that you could walk him around the mat. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, that was cool, man.
Right. So I remember you. It's almost like when you parachute. Oh, yeah. And you got someone that's you're attached to. So he's attached to you, and I remember you being in fighting stance, and I remember you kicking with him so he can feel what it's like to kick, and you could see in his face that this is something that he hadn't got to experience, and how happy he was to be able to do something, right? And then I think Maddox was another one in a wheelchair. Now I personally have got to work with Maddox and Pepe both, and Austin, but watching Maddox, what you did with him, I remember when you had to like literally pull him out of his chair, and he's to a point now that he can even get into his own wheelchair. Is that correct? Right.
He's close. Yeah, he's worked on it a lot, dude. He's pretty much there where he can, he still needs a little help here and there, but he's doing. He gets in and out of his bed, as mom tells me, and that's actually, dude, why we started why we got him that van is, his mom is he weighs about 100 pounds, and she's tiny, dude.
Yeah,
And
right.
I saw her every day have to pick him up and put him in there, and so that's why we started that fundraiser. We raised $32,000 when we got that kid pretty much a brand new wheelchair accessible van. But yeah, that's the struggle, was in and out, because he's getting to be a big boy. He's about to be a teenager.
Yeah. So I saw, for those that are watching right now, live with us or listening, just so you know that, Carson met a need for this family. I remember the phone call. He goes, man, I need to get a van for these people. We need to do something. And he just kind of started having little fundraisers. I think you had me come out there and we did a women's self-defense, and we put the money in for this van. And then at black belt testing, I remember that you gave that van to the family so that they can, so that she can have an easier way of transporting him. And they're probably still using that van today, I'm imagining, right?
Oh yeah, every week they come every Thursday and they work. Now they're working with Matthew, and that's something that's so cool, dude. Is I really, it's funny that we're having this podcast this week, because last week, dude, on Thursday, I started a new kid with Down syndrome, and it was Matthew working with Maddox. I had Gabriel working with Austin, and I'm working with this new young man named Liam. And all three of us black belts are on the mat, private lessons with 3 different special needs kids. And man, it really set in for me that this is something that's changed people's lives, and that is something that it's going to continue without me. If whether I'm here or not, it's going to continue without me, and that's what's important,
Yeah, well, I think that you're 100%. That's 100% true on that. Austin working with somebody with Downs. If nobody's ever done it before, especially Austin, man, that kid, you cannot be in the room without being in a good mood with that child. I've yet to see him in a bad mood, and I'm sure he gets in them, but he's not like that around us. I haven't seen it yet, and when he comes in, and you could hear him yell across the name, Mr. Cox, and he comes up with these big hugs and this big smile. And we'll give a quick shout out to Matthew a little bit. This is your head instructor there, who's taken over a lot of the special needs privates, and you can see that. I'll shout out for him. He's got a TikTok now called Special.Kicks that he shows all the clips of everybody he works with on TikTok. And he's just, he's got this way with special needs, just like you do. I mean, they used to call you the autistic whisperer. You could, you could do things with them that people couldn't do, right? Yes, and so Matthew has that same thing. So it was just a shout out, but I remember vividly 2 things about Austin and his Down syndrome, and what I remember so most about that. When he did his first black belt test, I'll never forget. I think it's his sword form he was doing or something, right? A sword or a staff or something. All I remember is the end of it, where he is just like, "Ah," and he's got his hands up, and he's just, and just, I mean, I don't know, half the people are crying while the other half are laughing, and you couldn't help but have just an awesome time watching him be able to get a black belt in what he can do, in his thing. And so that brings you back to your character development in your school with Matthew. I remember vividly now Matthew testing for his 3rd degree. Now this just happened, I don't know, last year or so, right? Yeah, we're sitting on the panel together. I'm sitting right next to you, and I'm like, that Matthew is right next to Austin the entire time. And to watch him sacrifice his test, because he's super talented, right? He just foregoed his test to make sure Austin had a really good 2nd degree test. He was right there with him. He was doing the combinations. He's talking to him. He's attacking for him. And just the self-sacrifice for another kid was just awesome to see. I was so taken back that day. I remember I was telling you, man, I was like, the character of Matthew that day that did something to me. Even on the plane ride home, I'm like, Carson has really developed something here with his special kicks. I was, lucky to be watch you develop this thing, and then help us even here with what it is. Michael, even my own son, you've said it when he comes out there, you put him in front of the special needs. And so I'm going to give you, I don't know if I've ever told you this story, and it's an embarrassing story about me, but when I was a blue belt, I don't know if you know this, I used to go to class and teach. I take class in the daytime with Mr. I when I was trying to get my black belt, and I was a blue belt. I mean, I remember this day vividly. And we had what would be called, back then, we really didn't understand special needs like we do today. Do you understand? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It wasn't prevalent back in the 80s, right?
That's right.
And so we had somebody that would be deemed special needs today. And he was the only one that was sometimes in class. And so, when you're in class and you had it, it was slowing you down or was slowing me down or whatever, however you want to say it. And I remember being there and going, oh man, do I have to teach this today? You know what I mean? I'm there trying to get ready for my own test. And I remember this vividly. And Mr. Chikau looking at me and going, so you can't sacrifice some time to help teach somebody else. And because you're too selfish about your own training. I'll never forget it. Right.
I didn't know that story.
You didn't know that story? You never heard that? This is one of those growth things for me. And I remember it today now, Ian, even when I watch all your kids and Matthew and all that kind of stuff, I had the opportunity back then to even be more of a mentor, but I didn't have a mentor to teach me how to deal with it. It just wasn't prevalent back then. It was
that's
just
right. And that's the good thing, dude, to me about our program and about it being like you're talking about in every single class, there's somebody there's not a day goes by that multiple individuals with special needs are not in the building. So you have no option but for it to be the regular, and so what I hope that happens is because of that other students, are taking that out into the classroom, into the community, because, even me, dude, when I was growing up, I didn't really know to take some extra time, how important it was to take some extra time to talk to somebody that is different, in our eyes, different. They're really not different. They're the ones who are we're the different ones, what I mean? I talk about it all the time. They're the ones who are happy all the time. What's wrong with us,
Right. Well, right. That's the thing, right? When I come in, so people don't know this about Carson, right? He had made a decision that he wanted to have a special needs. We've talked about it often that at some point Austin will probably be an employee there, but you wanted to have a special needs hired. You wanted to hire special needs and somebody that would greet at the door. I remember us talking about this because you said the right special needs, they're happy every time you come in. They're That's just right. And so you have Jabari. So the picture that I use, if you guys didn't see, you see the picture of Carson today and you have a little boy that's kind of, well, he's not really a little boy. He's he's almost a grown man now, but he's kind of laying down on your lap, right? That's the picture I chose.
Yeah, that was a good picture, dude. I don't even know where that came from. He was sick that day. He was sick, and his mom was going to pick him up, and he was laying in my lap. He was so sick, dude. It was pitiful. And he was laying in my lap, waiting for his mom to come pick him up. Yeah, Jabari's awesome, man. There's this event in Savannah, and if you guys, anybody, it's probably the best event I've ever been to in my life, and it's called Night of Champions. And what it is they take 5 adults in the community with special needs, and they have jobs in the community. And they honor those guys, and man, I cry like a baby every time. My wife's like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah, well, I think because we know. I guess I don't know what makes it so emotional for us. It's first of all, we think we're having a bad day, and we ain't having a bad day for nothing, right? That's it's right. Like. You look at him in Jabari, as soon as I come in, right, the first thing is, we have something together, that he does with just me, right? He's like, puts his little finger up and he's like, in a minute. and you're doing good. You're doing good. And he pats me on the back and, okay, go see Mr. Carson. And, that's exactly what it says. I remember driving up with Kat when we were there. Right. And I'm like, watch Jabari, man, this is going to be awesome. And I asked him the same question. Jabari, you get a girlfriend yet? No. And, but he opens the door, asks everybody how they're doing. He's cleans. And, you've given this young man a job that makes him feel good, and he gets to talk to everybody. So it's awesome. You've done an awesome job, man. You've turned the corner in myself and other people, just so you know, just by your heart for them. You can't, how we are, right? I can't stand I can't stand bullies. And then you have bullies against people with special needs, and they, I just want to wreck them,
That's right. And I think even as just they're unaware, you're just unaware. And dude, that's the thing is you everybody here, all of the students here know that you don't act any different to them, or you'll get blasted, man.
Yeah. So it's great. You have a good friend, David Clifton. He's the other black belt in Krav Maga there, and he has an iron thing, and he's even made you stuff to help with special needs. I think he made this cart or something so to help people walk. And when you walk in there, it's not unusual in your school to see wheelchairs, to see special needs. There's never a time that somebody isn't. And now we make it all happy-go-lucky, but man, you've had some combative special needs where you're getting bit and everything else, right?
That's part of it. That's part of it. That's Matthew's taking the brunt of the tooth being knocked out and being bit a little bit, Good for him.
Yeah, it's one thing it's gonna do. It's definitely going to test your patience for sure.
But that's the thing, dude. It's things like that. That's why those parents are so used to being let down, and so in their mind, they're just causing trouble, or the parents think, "Oh, we're causing trouble, or we're causing issues." Much like you were talking about with that kid, the parents complaining, and the special needs parents think the same thing, because that is the stereotype. And I tell them, we're used to the crying. Your kid crying here doesn't affect me one bit. Dude, I had a kid yesterday. This is his 8th lesson, and I tell them until they get on the mat by themselves, I don't charge you anything until they get on the mat completely by themselves without a parent. And so this kid is crying. He's 3 years old. He's crying. I'm talking about, when I say crying, I mean screaming bloody murder. And everybody in the building's looking, 8 30-minute lessons. He does this a whole 30 minutes. Well, yesterday I finally broke him. I finally got him to stand on the mat. He did karate by himself, and he didn't cry. And you know how Chappie is, dude. I'm trying to help Chappie. I'm trying to teach him a little bit. I said, listen, dude, this is what makes our school different. That kid came in here 8 times and cried bloody murder and would not do karate. And today, on the 8th time he's in a uniform, he's on the mat, he stopped crying after about 10 minutes, and he did class. And I said, that's what makes the school different. I said, is we didn't just push him out the door because he was crying, he was throwing a fit, he was a little bit different, things like that. I mean, dude, it blows my mind. I've had parents come in the school and say, hey, I was sitting here because I was told that my child was not ready for this. They were not where they needed to be, and I don't know. That's just something I don't agree with. I don't think is right.
Well, I think I think it's good. I think I know the child you're talking about. I think he was there when I was there.
Yeah.
And I remember us talking. I said, he'll get it. You got to break him. It's like a Bronco at some point. You know what I mean? If everybody else can withstand it at some point, he's going to he's going to come around. So yeah, that's good. So let's just talk real quick. Just tell us how you developed the Special Kicks program now. So you've patented this and you have a curriculum for it. And because people, that's a question people have. Well, how do they get belts? If they can't even do a form, how do they they get belts? So let's talk about how you develop that and what that entails for yourself, what that looks like.
Well, dude, I think just like any martial artist, when, I don't know about you, but when something once you've been doing something for so long, it becomes second nature, and it's a little bit easier, and it doesn't challenge you as much, and that's what I like about the special kicks curriculum is every student is different. Like me and Miss Pearson were talking about a kid yesterday that is completely wheelchair bound, and she has started teaching him. He started with me, funny enough, and we were doing stuff, and I wasn't doing any forms with him, dude, because he was wheelchair bound, and forms are what forms are. They're a little bit harder when you're wheelchair bound. So, but now she's got him doing all the forms because he's getting ready to test for his black belt. And so I think that's the cool thing about the curriculum. That's why I really developed it, is because it was a challenge to me. It was hard for me to figure out how can I get, and I really need to take the time to write down, the different children that I work with and how I got past those different, like for instance, I know that a kid with autism, 90% of the time when they come on the door, to get them to hit a pad one time is a success for me. Like, they're not going to close their hand. They're going to hit with an open hand. If I can get them to hit at all, even with an open hand, that's a success. Next thing is, hey, I'm trying to get them to close their hand, period, to hit the pad. I mean, those things, you don't really think about them. You don't think about it, but I know now, because of doing it with so many kids, that is a trait that is consistent with any kid with autism. Just like me and that a 5-year-old is going to have issues doing a fighting stance or a front stance. It's no different. It's just because of our experience and doing it so long, we know exactly what the consistent similarities in the training is going to be. And so I really need to take the time and develop more of a manual. I have a special kicks manual, and what I did is I just took curriculum and I broke it down a little bit more. And so my goal, and this could be any school, dude, is to take them through a special kicks curriculum. And then after that, I do my little ninjas curriculum. And then after that, I do my traditional junior karate curriculum. And, even more broken down to that is I might have a kid like Austin. See, he didn't do special kicks. He went straight into little ninjas curriculum and then straight into junior curriculum. So I had to make the decision to skip some of the easier stuff with him because I could tell he could handle it, And so that's sort of how I've developed the curriculum.
Well, yeah, I think that's Austin, I think you're right. I think that, all that helps out with, if you can get him into a regular program, somebody like Austin, and then all that does two things, right? I remember there's another special needs that I think he had Downs, but he only speaks Spanish. Hector, right? And you got him to black belt also. He did it with his mom. Just another happy kid. He was strong, man. I remember doing that, and we got a thumbs up here from Ashley Sage and Big Ben. Ashley takes care of her sister that is special needs, and so she knows those same struggles, and it's just another another person here that works with special needs ourselves. So she's got a lot of stuff in common with you also. So I think that the special kicks, I think that's awesome, right? Because you tie belts around them just like you do any other karate student. They're doing there's Ashley, she's saying hi. I just put her comment up, says love y'all. She's trying to get a little Southern. Do you see that? Love y'all. Y'all. You know what I mean? Anybody else that's on here, if you got questions for Carson, you can just pop them in there. If I see him come up, I'll ask him the question, or I'll put your comments up. And for Carson while he's here, Big Ben. If you guys don't know Big Ben, he's the one that gets all of our military contracts. He's the one that's always wearing, I don't know, some kind of a T-shirt with
Care Bear
shirt.
Care Bear Ben. He said he's more approachable when he wears that. I think I need to get Chappie some Care Bears.
Yeah, people Chappie Care Bear. I
tell every parent, that's my goal, is to get their student in class with every other student. And I have, it's interesting to me, I have a lot of parents that do fight me so hard. Like I'll have a kid I've worked with a year, right? Year, 2 years. And I say, listen, they are ready to move into the class and they will not want me to do it. They don't want me to, you know, in my mind, I'm pushing the kid to forward to be better, to be more, to help them in life in general, because let's be honest, everybody's not going to be trying to help them. So I got to make sure that I take the time that I have with them to make them as successful as I can be in their future life. At least that's how I think about it. You know what I mean? So yeah. I got parents that'll fight me sometimes. I got parents that'll come in and I'll say, listen, he doesn't need one-on-one. He can go right into regular. He can go right into junior karate class. And then I do have students that need more one-on-one. But my goal ultimately is to, and a lot of parents do want their kid to be in the so-called regular class. I hate saying that. It's not really, it's junior, it's not really regular, because those, like I say, those kids are way more regular than we are,
Right. I agree with that. So on that, so I have also had people ask now, one thing of course, we'd love to have our staff and everybody and come in, but things cost money when you have business, right? And you got to pay your instructors, yourself or myself, we would give our time to those that we needed to, because, it was our time, but you found a way to get funding, right? To help with special needs. It's really hard out here in California, but you said at one time you had Easter seals, right?
Yeah, we had Easter seals, and I don't know, dude, I hear back and forth, but at one time they had told us they were stopping funding and recreation, so I hardly have anybody with them. And then I have another organization called Gateway, and now they have recently started back, but they had told me at one time they thought they were going to have to stop funding recreation. Dude, it all just, I'm sure it's not them personally. I'm sure it just comes back to, state and federal regulations. I don't think it's anything personal, but I mean, it does have an impact on kids. But I'm like you, dude. Whether they pay me or not, and like I say, I'm paying Matthew and I'm paying these other guys for their time, because this is what they do for a living. I have to pay them because they have to survive. Me, I'll do it out for free. I don't care. I'm to the point in my life where I'm going to do whatever needs to be done to get these kids help. I'm like you, dude. Whether I'm paid or not, I'm going to be doing the classes.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of most martial artists. They get a bad rap of how much time is dedicated, and then to the point, it's almost like we'll dedicate all the time we can to it, and people don't really realize the years and the money spent that we did to further our education to help those that can't help themselves and be that kind of coach, and we move on. And at one point, you and I are going to sit together when we're older, and we're going to have the stories of these guys that, hey man, these men or women really helped out my child. And they're, those are the, when we hear those things, this is the reward that we get back, that we've that's, through this pandemic, right? All the complaining that I have seen, or, people that quit or whatever it is, the special needs, they were just right there.
That's right. Well, you got to think, you got kids and adults who are used to, like, our routine's broken, we get through it. A special needs child, their routine is broken, it destroys them.
That's correct.
When we have to close down or do anything, we have to change it. We have to change the way we're doing things. It affects that family in a whole different way. You got a kid who is used to a routine that has to stay in his house. It'll literally break the kid down to nothing, so that's important to understand, I think.
Yeah. And that's hard to understand unless you have a special needs child on just how important that is. So, let's talk about this quickly, because we got about 10 minutes here remaining. But so you saw that your funding is going to go, and so you decided, you know what, I'm going to make a nonprofit for myself, and I'm going to fund this thing myself. And so you did a very creative fundraiser. in the South,
That's right.
right?
Yeah. So we did. So when I started seeing when COVID hit, I started getting all these emails of parents. They were not happy. Not at me. They were not happy because the state was going to cut. Like I think at first it was going to be all the funding, and then they decided to cut 60% of the funding. And luckily in our local community, we had some local representatives that really fought hard for it. So not everything got cut, but when I started hearing that, I immediately started planning because I told you, dude, we're at the point where we're sending so many to them now. I know when it gets right towards this last few months, so we start New Year technically in I think June or July. I know as it gets towards these last few months that's when they're going to say, well, we're going to have to hold off on funding these guys because we got to wait till the new fiscal year. So now the cool thing is, dude, is we set up this fundraiser and we're going to do it every year because it was so successful. And we did a wild game dinner and we did a silent auction. We raffled off, a bunch of different things, guns and silver and trips. And, so it was a lot of fun, dude. And we raised quite a bit of money, enough money where I can fund. If I needed to fund all the kids myself now, I could fund them. So now, dude, me and you always talk about what life would be like if we just could do anything we wanted to for somebody, and now if I have a kid like Maddox who needs a van, instead of me having to stress out about fundraising, I got this fundraiser at the end of the year. I can use that to make sure that happens. You know what I mean? Or I can use the fundraiser from the previous year to make sure it happens. When I start getting these kids towards this last few months that are not able to get the funding, I'll be able to take care of them.
Yeah, I thought that was very unique. You have a wild games night, so I think you guys had you had a pig and you had you cooked deer and yeah. My kids don't like it when I call them Bambi burgers, but I'm gonna get in trouble for that. Somebody's gonna be like, "Come on, Mr. Cook."
I thought that it really went smooth, dude, and everybody really had a fun time. People are already asking me if we're doing it again. So.
Yeah. Well, it'll be, once again, it's something that you came up with in order to help those with less fortunate, and people come together for that, for a common good, even in a pandemic. It's obvious that they have a love for you, Carson, and you have a love for those that need love on every day. So it changed all of us. Just so you know, they watching you have the heart for them. It all have what you've done for Matthew. Matthew probably didn't even know he had the gift that he has until now. I've told you that story before. I didn't really want to teach children. I didn't know I had a gift to teach children until it was forced upon me, and that was God's will. That's what I was going to do. That's and right. It's to take. That's the other thing. I think we're men of faith. And we are boldly men of faith. I have no problem telling people exactly how I feel and where I stand with my faith.
That's right.
And I believe that God put us here to help those that, we may not be getting the doctor's wages, okay, but our reward in heaven will be there for us at some point. I guarantee it. You know what I mean? For all that. And you're on the forefront of that, Carson, in case you didn't know, man. I listen to everybody when I'm at your school talk about you, and you've gotten, you're pretty humble yourself. You don't really talk about awards and stuff you've gotten. I know the city's given you awards for what you've done for them, and your compassion for those that need compassion, and those that need to be pushed a little bit need to be pushed a little bit. It is what it is. I know when I remember Coach Wooden telling me that when I gave him a black belt, Coach Wooden telling me some people need to be patted on the shoulder, some need to be patted a little bit lower. So I'll never forget him telling it. I
think that that's I think between my dad and you, I got both sides of the that. You know what I mean? Yeah. My dad was definitely the lover. You know what I mean? And you're more the fighter. You know.
Yeah, I hear that quite often. I know I have a little bit of bite to me, and but you also see the soft side of me, and those kids bring that out big time. And of course, your daughter's has me wrapped around her little finger. So, these girls are always got me there. So before we start getting this all wrapped up here, Carson, I just, we've talked about your special kicks and how that is, and how martial arts is going to help special needs kids, and you got to find a school that's going to do it. You know what I mean? So the last segment is just a little bit about your training, so everybody knows where your background. So once you moved from Statesboro, you kind of tried to come under me here because I'm a little bit more accessible. So you have me fly out. I'm coming out there anywhere from 3 to 4 times a year, right? And with Ben out there and Chappie, who's going to be working at your school, they got us to get on base where we get to, that was an experience for us. Right now, we've been doing it for quite a years, but when they brought us on the base to teach Krav Maga to our soldiers, and that even opened up our eyes on how to make our martial arts even better for them. So you're a 2nd degree black belt now in Krav Maga, I believe. Your 5th degree, I think we just got in Tong Soo, right? Brown belt under Sergio Machado in your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And the importance of what you are as a student, not just a school owner. I mean, you push yourself. You've flown me out there to make sure that we got you through Krav Maga. We did mostly private training in it with David Clifton, and you got your rank. And I know that it's important to you to have the right certifications for your own students. So, we've been around for a long time. I mean, there's a lot of schools out there that, we know schools out there that haven't even have black belts in there, and they're promoting people. It's amazing. So just want to make sure everybody knows where you're, as far as an AKMF school, under us, the East Coast, you're probably the main school out there on that coast. And let's talk about your where you started, right? We started in that little school by the chiropractor there, right? A little, how big was that?
2,000 square feet.
2,000 square feet, right? 2,000 square feet school. And, and then you moved to a busier, I remember you moving, right, to a busier section. And I was still on your case. I'm like, bro, how many times I got to tell you got to have 2 mats? How many times I tell you that, right?
Every time.
Every time. I'm pulling my hair out going, you are going to outgrow this place, man. I am telling you, you don't have enough mat space. And then my office was where? Where was my office when I came?
In the bathroom.
That's right. Mine was the bathroom office. The instructor bathroom is where I got to have, where I could go sit down for a second. But you at least put a shower in there for me. That's I remember that, right? So we were there. We were there for, how long were you there for?
I was in that location for 5 years.
5 years.
And that was 2,700 square feet.
2,700. So now we're there. We got 700 square feet, still only 1 mat. Finally, you say, I'm going to buy this piece of land and we are going to build this ultimate school in there. And you have probably the largest school in the Savannah, Rankin, Pooler area, right smack in Pooler. And so how big is your facility now?
It's 8,900 square feet now.
8,900 square feet. The mat is, you finally have multiple mats. It's amazing, right? And I was just out there a week ago, and your yellow purple belt class in this, you live in a state that's a little bit more open. Let's just say that. And you had, 40 or 50 students on the mat just in the yellow purple belt class, double mats, and you have a huge retail center, and you've got this beautiful office and your staff that's working hard, and you've got to open up this beautiful facility which even houses more special needs, more students for your community. and you've done a fantastic job. And I couldn't be more proud to be part of a little bit of part of your growth in watching you take that on as a young man. So,
yeah, and it's funny if you don't know how stressful it is to build something like this. Man, I had everything fighting against me to get this building done, and when I finally got it, now I've got it done. We've been in here. It seems like a few months, but we've been in here almost 2 years. And yes, and a few weeks ago, I had a bunch of people asking me, "Well, when are you open up a bigger facility?" I'm like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me? I'm like, you trying to kill me?" I don't know. I don't see how people do bigger or how people have multiple schools like you do. You know, I think about that stuff a lot. So.
Yeah, multiple schools doesn't mean multiple income, bro. It means multiple headaches. Okay,
right.
I'd rather have your big school than multiple schools. I can tell you that. If it wasn't for awesome Jay Walker that runs my other school, I mean, for all purposes, it's Jay's school. You know, just because I open the doors doesn't mean I'm the one over there facilitating it. I know what the headache is. I think what people don't like about your school, what they want bigger is a bigger parking lot, not a bigger school. You know what I mean? So. You know, they've had to walk and stuff. So I'm going to have you end this, Carson, with I want your students here watching, or my students that get to know you a little bit more now that they know who Carson Fortner is, and I wanted I'm going to personally thank you, and then I'm going to let you close this out, but. When you go into your school, man, you have this awesome artists that have done these life-size paintings of us, of yourself, myself, and Mr. Ichikawa. And because of your lineage and how you keep the lineage of that alive, I wanted to always say thank you for putting me on the forefront like you do. And keeping Mr. Ichikawa's legacy alive. I think that's very important. As we keep Krav Maga's, I'm going to try and keep Danny Hazan's legacy where it needs to be. I just wanted to give a personal thank you out there. But if you had a word or something for your students, people ask me, what is my word? Every year I have kind of a word for the year, right? And mine this year was resolve, right? Relentless resolve. You guys know my personal story, what I'm trying to health-wise change. And so I just have this relentless resolve to push past any barriers. What can you end with? What do you think?
Oh man, this is always a word. It's funny because my preacher was just talking about this. And well, it was actually, they had this guy come in, and he is a world-renowned marriage counselor. He was coming in and he was talking about doing the right thing in order to honor God, honor your spouse, honor your family, your friend, stuff like that, and just integrity, man. Doing the right thing when nobody's watching. That's what we always talk about. We preach it to the students, and that's something I really try to focus my own life on is am I doing the right thing when nobody's watching? Even when it comes to small things that you don't always think about, you know what I mean? So that would be my word, would be integrity, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's a good word, right? It is who we are. We talk a lot about this, you and I together, because we do have a conviction, probably because of our Christian values and where we stand, and we just have a conviction of, is that the right thing or is it not the right thing? You know what I mean?
That's right.
We talk about that quite often, so I think that's a good ending thing. I want to appreciate it, man. We've been on here for about an hour and 3 minutes, and we've got to know a little bit more about your school, about the special kicks. If you guys want to see more about this, go on Matthew's TikTok. It's special.kicks on TikTok and you can see a lot of these special needs. Matter of fact, I think he put one up where you're in the background running and he's working with one of the other guys. That's where you can really see all in action. You know what I mean? I used to guys, with Maddox doing his sticks or whatever. You put little video clips up there, and we'll try and follow you guys. What's your why don't you tell everybody where they find you on Facebook real quick? Where are you at on Facebook?
So on Facebook, we're under Pula Karate.
So
And I have my personal Facebook, Carson Fortner, if you guys want to message me there. You know, dude, I know you got a lot of schools out there and a lot of schools that are underneath you guys. And anybody who really wants to take the next step of getting a lot of special needs students into their school, you know, as long as you got the right mindset and you're doing it for the right reasons, I would love to be part of that and help you in any way I can. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's good. So you notice I just popped up. Rick Arnold put on here. Awesome. I'm so proud of you, sir. If you don't know Rick Arnold, he's from Texas. He's a school owner from Texas. This is a strong Christian man. He is a cool cat. He's had me come out and do way back in the day in the 90s, you know, at his black belt extravaganzas, and we've done brick breaking. And so he just popped in and said, "I'm so proud of you." It's funny when Rick Arnold came. I'll tell you one quick story about him that's funny. Rick Arnold has me come out, and I hear that I think I fly into, I don't know if it's Dallas or wherever, and we got this private plane to take me into their little town, right? And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And so I get off the plane, and we're getting ready for this thing, and the plane's there waiting for me, and I'm on this private thing. There's this beautiful streamlined jet, kind of like Gulfstream where you're at, and then there's this little puddle jumper with the propellers, and I'm like, no way, it can't be. That can't be. And sure enough, it wasn't the streamlined jet. It was this little puddle jumper, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding. And so that was the first time I got to actually fly the plane. I'm in the front, right? And I said, I've always wanted to fly a plane. And he goes, well, take over the things. And he just takes it over. And I'm just I'm like this. I'm like, all right, I flew it for 30 seconds. I'm done.
I'm good.
I'm good. I say I flew a plane. And it's funny. Rick Arnold is a good dude. If you haven't got to meet him, go find him, Carson. Rick Arnold on Facebook right there. I'll show you his name again right there. And you can go see him. But I want to thank you, man. This was a really good time with you. I feel like I'm sitting in your office because I was just there, you know, with Kat here for a while. And I look forward to coming back. I think Sergio's coming out for you guys soon. All right. In a couple of weeks, Sergio will be out doing the seminar. And I think you got Laborio there also. You got these two awesome jiu-jitsu masters coming out to your studio. If there's anybody in that area, it doesn't even have to be with your school. You invite anybody that wants to train with some of the top jiu-jitsu instructors out there. Sergio Machado is our instructor, and Laborio is one of the main guys from Top Team. He's the one that started Top Team, and he's going to be there one day, and Sergio's going to be there the next. You're not going to get any more better jiu-jitsu instructor, you know, from these black belts for sure. All right. So I hope you have a good day, dude. I know you got to get going. You've got a staff meeting yourself, and we've got here in a few hours. I love you, Carson. I always have. Your dad's going to be super proud of you. I look forward to seeing you here in another month or so. I'll be out there. All right.
Love you too, sir. Thank you.
Bye, guys.